Ezrimim Adonai Ose Shemayim Baaretz Esa'enai Leharim Me'ayin Yamo Ezrimim Adonai Ose Shemayim Baaretz.
How are you, Asher?
I'm doing well, Cantor Baron. How are you? Moadim l'simcha.
Moadim l'simcha. Hi, everyone. I'm Cantor Phil Baron from Valley Beth Shalom, and I wanted to talk to you today about a Jewish celebration that's celebrated by many, many, many people, and I'll bet you've never heard of it. It's called Mimouna, and it comes out of various parts of the Middle East. It's celebrated widely around the Mediterranean basin. And I've asked Asher Shasha Levy, my friend and colleague and teacher, to come and share with us all that he knows about Mimouna, and that's quite a lot. So we'll do what we can in about the next 30 minutes. So Asher, tell us about Mimouna.
It's my pleasure. So first of all, Cantor Baron, I want to wish you terbehu u tis'adu. And that's what we say on Mimouna. And it's a greeting in Judeo-Arabic, terbehu u tis'adu, and it means may you be successful and may you have many festive occasions. And it's basically like the same thing that we say, very similar as to saying like hatzlacha rabba or tizku leshanim rabot, sort of like on Rosh Hashanah. And in a way, we can think of Mimouna almost like Rosh Hashanah, because if we look at the Mishnah, we look at the Talmud, Pesach is really the new year, right? You look at the Torah, Pesach is the new year, right? It's the first month. So in the communities of the Middle East, certainly, in the communities that have a fealty to what we call the Geonic tradition that came out of the academies of Sura and Pumbedita of Babel, there's this notion that the springtime really is that first month, that we're not just talking about it. You know, when we talk about how Pesach really is the birthday, we really mean it. And so we do things for that. You know, our Persian brothers and sisters have Nowruz. And so Mimouna is actually very similar to Nowruz in many ways. It's a celebration at the end of Pesach that comes, and it doesn't have any set prayers or rituals. You know, if you go to a Mimouna in, 12 different Mimounas in 12 different houses, they're all going to look different. There are going to be similar elements that are going to cross through. You know, everyone is going to wish you, tirbahu, tisadu, or people will say for short, tirbah. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a great time. That's going to be for sure. There's going to be lots of music, and there's definitely going to be lots of hametz food, because the thing about Mimouna is it was a really remarkable occasion where Jews in the Arabic world, and let's put a place to it. Let's do a little geography here. Mimouna is a Moroccan celebration, primarily. Maghrabi. When we talk about Maghrab, the word Maghrab in Arabic is the same as in Hebrew Ma'arav, and it means the West. So even though this is a celebration that's associated sort of paradoxically in Israel with what we call Mizrahi Jews, Eastern Jews, it's really associated with the sort of Western end of the Arabic-speaking Jewish diaspora. So Jews
So what does that mean? What is the Western end?
The Western ends, the Jews who call themselves Maghrabi Jews, are Jews from Morocco, Jews from Algeria, Jews from Tunisia, and Jews from Libya. Jews from Egypt are different. Jews from Egypt have more association with Jews from the land of Israel, and Jews from Syria, and Jews from Lebanon, and also the Ladino-speaking Jews from Turkey. So that's one category. But then there's the Maghrabi Jews, the Western Jews, who have a beautiful tradition. And that has a lot to do with when we talk about like the Andalusian tradition from Spain And we talk also about the Amazigh tradition, this tradition of, in English, we often say Berber, but that word is not really what those people call themselves. So it's a mixing of really indigenous African Jewish traditions. You had tribes by the 8th century who had converted to Judaism, as well as these Spanish Sephardic Jews. And this basically the combination of all of these traditions makes for something that is so beautiful and so unique in the Jewish world. And out of that, you get Mimouna. We don't know when Mimouna started, but it's probably like the 17th century, maybe the 16th century, but it's a beautiful, beautiful celebration.
So we have an American Ashkenazi celebration at this time of year. Also, it's called going out for pizza.
Exactly.
So is there a parallel there?
100%, Cantor. So one of the things, and that's a wonderful parallel that you brought up. One of the things that makes Mimouna is it's a celebration of coexistence, really. Jews in Morocco in particular, but really until a certain point in time, until political circumstances unfortunately made this no longer the case, Jews in the Arab world often enjoyed very cordial relations with their neighbors. They weren't cowering in fear in Shtetlach in Eastern Europe. They were living cosmopolitan lives as doctors and professionals, and even people who had more of a humble existence. In some parts of Morocco, more rural, living in what was called the Melah, which was basically sort of like a shtetl in a way. They lived peacefully oftentimes with their neighbors. And so the main part of Mimouna, really, this was something that you would see everywhere. And even in cultures more to the east, like in Syria and Iraq and Iran, you would have the Muslim neighbors, as soon as Pesach was done, would return the flour that had been sold to them prior to Pesach to the Jews and assist in the making of special treats for the Mimouna.
Oh, great. Well, I want to get to some of those special treats in a minute, but first, I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. First of all, I see that you seem to be wearing your pajamas, but I think I'm probably mistaken. So could you describe
a little off there.
What you're wearing?
So, a lot of Jewish communities have traditional clothing. We think about Jewish clothing as being, black hats and shtreimels and things like that. But what I'm wearing right now is what's called the jalabiya, and it's the traditional clothing of Moroccan Jews and other North African Jews.
It's very colorful, very beautiful.
Yeah. And there are white ones that we wear on Shabbat, and we wear actually to the Seder Pesach. So if you're fortunate to go to a Moroccan Seder Pesach, I say fortunate because the food is really astonishingly good. You'll get to see oftentimes entire families wearing beautiful white jalabiya. But I'll stand up and you can see it's
great. Oh, wow. So it goes all the way down.
Yeah, it's a beautiful floor-length garment like this. And the women wear even more elaborate ones that have embroidery and it's beautiful. And it's a time where the community can get together, and around the world, whether it's in Los Angeles or in France or in Israel, can really relish in celebrating what we call, darchei abotenu, the customs and ways of our ancestors, and not to forget how they lived, and to do it in a way that's, not belittling it, not to say, look at that, how quaint, but to really open up the homes and to show people the beauty of how that was. And the way that it needs to be is to not have it be closed off. That's really one of the main aspects of a Mimouna, is having homes with open doors. I've been to Mimounas in Los Angeles, here in the Valley, and also in in the Pico area and stuff like that, where you'll have many Moroccan families on the same block, and the doors will literally be open, and people will just be coming in and out. It doesn't matter if you know them. The music is blasting, the food is just being made, and people are just celebrating and they're sharing. And that's really something that has carried over. There even is in Morocco today a group called Association Mimouna. And Association Mimouna is a group of non-Jewish Moroccans, Muslim Moroccans, who want to rekindle the connection with the Jewish heritage of Morocco, because they remember their parents saying that they used to go to their Jewish neighbors' friends and Jewish friends and neighbors and celebrate this Mimouna holiday. And they say, well, where are all these Jews now? So this group is coming together to rekindle that coexistence flame. So this holiday can be a symbol. That's what Mimouna can be. It can be a symbol of how we can all not only just live side by side, but we can really share these traditions and share in each other's joy.
Beautiful. So before we get into the flavors, because
Yes.
I can smell it going already, the beautiful fragrance. How
Yeah.
about some music? And
Yes, definitely.
before we do that, could you explain that incredibly beautiful instrument that you were holding a moment ago?
Oh, it would be my pleasure. So what I have with me right now is an oud. And an oud is the instrument that is, it's called the king of the instruments in the Middle East. And let me hold it up so you can see.
Wow.
And yeah, you can see it's so intricate. And so the back is a bowl-shaped back, right? Very large, very large. And this instrument is really the ancestor of the guitar and of the mandolin and of the lute and of all of those stringed instruments that we have in the European tradition today.
I'm curious about the shape, Asher. Would it originally have been a gourd of some kind that would have been used for the resonating part of it?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm not sure exactly what the original material would have been, but the interesting thing is they suggest that the top, even though the instrument, the oud, the word oud means wood, they suggest that the top would have actually originally been partially skin, and that over time it evolved to be more fully wood. But it traveled from the Middle East, from the Fertile Crescent, to North Africa. And North Africa was actually one of the most crucial, Morocco was one of the most crucial stops that the oud made, because that was its way station to Europe. It entered Europe through North Africa. And in fact, I'm fairly certain that at one point in the Middle Ages, there was a variety of North African oud that even had frets. And it lost its frets at a certain point, but it kept its frets in Europe.
I see. So it's actually a little more challenging to play than a guitar, for instance.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, when people come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to learn oud, I play guitar," I say, it's not so easy to go that way. It's actually much easier if you play violin or cello to pick up the oud, because it's a fretless instrument.
So
and this one is an old oud. This oud actually has history. This one comes from Damascus, Syria, from an Armenian oud maker from the 1960s. So it's a beautiful historic heritage instrument.
That's a piece of art, actually.
Yeah.
So play for us something that if you were to be at a Mimouna celebration, that you might hear.
With joy. This song is A'ufa Eshkona. It's a beautiful song that has Hebrew lyrics that are based on the Shir HaShirim, and it was written by one of the rabbis, Abu Hatzera, of the family of mystics of the Baba Sali. And it's in a very typical Moroccan rhythm, a 6/8 syncopated rhythm. So you'll get to feel the rhythms of Morocco in this song. وأرحيك ندون بمدبر عالي النار ولاي امسادون أو فإشكونا برحك ندون فلبرالينا بولاي امسادون أو فإشكونا برحك ندون فلبرالينا بولاي امسادون. Deshikabato, Beli Bipoera, Deshikabato, Beli Bipoera, Mayom Teredado, Nafshi Alaymara, Alfa Ishkona, Berhikani Dod, Bamidbar Alina, Beulayin Sador. Oh, 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 جديد من امبارح هلا عذبني جديد من امبارح هلا عذبني الزودي رخ عرخ ذي الخقم أني أو فايشكونا بحكمي دوت بمي برالينا بيولين سادو أو فايشكونا بحكمي دوت بمي برالينا بيولين سادو.
Beautiful. And it really does conjure up a lot of that flavor of the Middle East. What's the scale that you're using? Sorry,
Okay.
folks, if you're not that interested in music, but I can't help myself. And then I have another question about the music, but go ahead. What's that scale?
That song, it's wonderful you brought that up. That song is very, very, very typical of Moroccan music. It has everything going on that you would expect to hear in a Moroccan song. It's in a scale called Kurd in the Eastern Arabic system, but in the Moroccan system they call it Sika Spanyolit because basically it's what you would think of for flamenco music.
I see. Yes.
So it's that. But there's also kind of there's a ghost note there. It's not really like there are microtones because Moroccan music, while it does use microtones primarily in a lot of borrowed repertoire from Egyptian music, it's a little bit more Western aligned in terms of the scales.
But
it has that. So it goes sort of into the frege.
Definitely.
And so
yeah, it sounds very Jewish in certain parts of the scale.
Exactly.
And then I can see you're not using a regular guitar pick. What is that you have?
Not at all. This is called a risha. And a risha is a pick that we use for the oud. It's a long, flat, traditionally it would have been an eagle feather, and then eventually pieces of flattened bone. And I like to use pieces of plastic. I think plastic oud picks work just fine.
Yeah, it looks like a tongue depressor.
Yeah, but the way that it works when you're playing it is you think of it almost like an extension of your finger. So I'm going taka, 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 like that.
I see.
And speaking of taka, taka, the rhythm of that piece is something we call the shabi rhythm, which is, it's a 6/8 rhythm, but really it's like a 4/6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the essence of those songs.
It has a triplet feel to it, and I don't want to bore people too much by talking about triplets, but that's what it is.
No, but if you
So
want to
let's
feel
get
Moroccan music, you feel that. And that, by the way, is different from most of the other Sephardic music, most of the other Middle Eastern music, and that comes
oh,
from the Amazic, that comes from the African presence. It's
I see.
African, you know?
So let's get back to Mimouna.
Yes.
So Passover has certain symbolic things that we do and eat and so forth. Are there symbolic things at a Mimouna celebration, like you'd have at a Seder?
Oh, 100%. The thing about a Mimouna is it's not consistent from house to house, but there are some things that we can generalize about a Mimouna. You're going to have lots of green things. You're going to have lots of green things at a Mimouna.
So to eat or to wear, or what do you mean green?
Plants.
Oh,
So it depends. In different cities, you're gonna have different customs for the Mimouna. So I've seen in a lot of Mimouna homes, big stocks of hadassim, like you would have with the lulav. So big stocks of hadassim, often in groups of five. Five is the number.
explain hadassim for everyone.
Hadassim, what is
Like
it?
we have at Sukkot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
one of those.
you know, there are some
Words.
moments in doing Jewish teaching where I feel like English is a second language. What is hadas in English? It's
Is that myrtle?
myrtle.
Myrtle.
Thank you.
Myrtle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So big branches of myrtle, and oftentimes you'll have it in groups of five. Some people even hang it on their doors. People will have it on their tables. Some people will they'll wave it over people as a way to wish them success.
Ah.
Oftentimes people will have, palm fronds can sometimes be something that people will have in different communities. Oftentimes mint is something that a lot of people will have in their.
This is a decor, essentially.
It's decor, but it's more than that. The thing that I would compare it to is the hafsin that you have at Nowruz. It's exactly the same thing. And a lot of the symbols that you have are very similar. People will have sometimes eggs set out on the table. I've seen people, and it depends on the city. Some people will have a fish. They'll have a little bowl that has a fish. One of the most common is gold coins. A lot of people will have 5 gold coins. And the one that everyone has is chamsas. Everyone has big chamsas. Oftentimes 5 chamsas. They'll have gold chamsas.
Right. So explain that, Asher. It's the hand like this, right, from the priestly tradition.
Yeah, well, the hamsa is particularly in the Sephardic tradition. Hamsa symbolizes the hand of Miriam. And so it's considered something for healing, and it's considered something for good luck. In fact, if you'll give me just 1 second.
Sure. I think this is fascinating. I'm going to Mimouna next year for sure.
If you just give me 1 second, I'm gonna fetch one.
Okay, great. So a Zoom Mimouna, I'm going to have to ask Asher about that when he gets back. Is anybody doing that this year, and could you participate? I think it would be really fascinating if we could. And then we'll get to the food. Don't worry.
So this is the closest hamsa that I could find.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. Break glass in case of emergency. I love that.
Yeah. So that's a hamsa. And the hamsa, basically, it's a symbol that really scholars say it predates all of the Abrahamic religions. It's a symbol that exists for healing in the Middle East, basically since the dawn of time. And it's associated in each of our faiths, it's associated with the woman healer. So Muslims call it the hand of Fatima, Sephardic Jews call it the hand of Miriam, and Christians call it the hand of Mary. And so the idea is that it's for healing, and it's a sign of good fortune. So you have the hamsa in your home, and you have it on the table, and it's for good luck, and it keeps away the evil eye, the nazar, or the ojo malo, as you say in Ladino.
That's great.
And that's part of what this Mimouna is about. It's at the beginning of the year, it's spring. And also something that's worth noting is that there was always a custom in Morocco to either go into the ocean on the Mimouna, on the day of the Mimouna, or draw water from the ocean, or have connection with the ocean, because it's the day of the Kriyat Yam Suf, of the crossing
Ah,
of the Red Sea. And so part of the Mimouna is this idea of it's springtime, it's the beginning of the year, but it's also a time of our liberation. So we want to have all of
mm,
these symbols of luck so that we can be, redeemed with goodness at this time. So it's the connections with nature. I think there's so much symbolism, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful day and a beautiful festival.
fantastic. So I'm guessing no pizza, but so what
No.
what uh, what would attract me food wise?
So,
Tell me.
there's in every city, in every home, you're going to have different foods from Mimouna because there's nothing set in stone. But the thing that you pretty much always see are going to be mufletot. And mufletot are really thin crepes. They're like a buttermilk pancake almost. And they're delicious. But the thing is, they can be made very, very quickly. So as soon as the flour comes in, as the neighbor brings the flour, you can whip them up very quickly, and they make syrups to put on top, like rosewater syrup. They put honey and butter, and oftentimes they'll also have sphinge. And sphinge is, if anyone has ever been to Café du Monde in New Orleans, it's basically a beignet. It's like a
Oh,
Jewish beignet. It's a
yeah, like
wonderful,
a soft biscuit, sweet
yeah, like a donut.
donut.
Yeah,
Donut,
like a
yeah.
donut that has no glaze, and it's just
Yeah.
like a handmade donut, just fried with some powdered sugar on top. Um,
Mm,
yes, and one of the things that's special, I think, about Mimouna is it's a dairy holiday. It's definitely one of those holidays where there's an emphasis on lots of dairy. You're
ah.
having
So like
dairy.
what? Like yogurt and things like that?
Yeah, and lots of things are being put out with these. These are not like parve desserts or anything like that. There's lots of butter. There are lots of sweet syrups and
Mm,
creams and things like that. And if there's going to be like a meal with it, it's going to be a fish. And the
I
fish
see.
ties
Uh-huh.
in with the symbols of Mimuna. And it also
Right.
ties in with the symbols that you would see at a Rosh Hashanah Seder. So, in the Sephardic tradition and also in the Hasidic tradition, you have a Seder on Rosh Hashanah. So you're going to put out a fish so that you're going to be like the head and not the tail. And remember, Pesach, again, is a New Year. So one of the
Yes.
things about the Mimuna is it ties in all of the symbols of the year together so that when you
Right.
end Pesach, you're not really ending it. You're adding another day of celebration
Mhm.
to the end.
It's almost like a break fast in the sense that we do after Yom Kippur,
Yeah,
where
definitely.
you have a dairy meal, but it's a departure from the kind of denial that we've had prior to that. And
Right,
so now we're
exactly.
celebrating with bread.
Right, 100%. And in connection with that, it also would have been a time where people would go and, try and, match make and mingle and do
Yeah,
things like that because, it's a time, it's the Omer, where people traditionally might not be doing that, but it would be a couple days where that wouldn't necessarily be the case. And it would
right.
be kind of full celebration. People would, that all would be lifted. And it would be a time of real joy. And that's definitely the case these days. I mean, obviously, not this year, unfortunately. People are not really doing Mimuna outside of their own immediate isolated groups. But in normal years, in Israel, in France, even in Morocco, there's still, thank God, there's still a Jewish community in Morocco of a few thousand. And the government is really strong there in protecting their Jewish community.
Oh,
The
beautiful.
king, and there are Jewish advisors, they're Jewish members of government in Morocco. And while, they have issues and whatnot, it's a situation where they've said, we're going to preserve the synagogues, we're going to preserve their rights. So every
Mhm.
year in Morocco, the Jews have their Mimuna. So
So
wherever there are Moroccan Jews, there's going to be a Mimuna.
similar to how Jews have lived in that part of the world, for since time immemorial, as they say.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so Asher, play us something joyful to close out
Yes.
this
Actually, there's one
wonderful
thing
conversation.
there is one
Yeah.
thing that I didn't talk about that I should,
Oh, please
is
do.
the name. What does Mimuna mean?
Oh, I forgot to ask you that.
Yeah. So actually, the name of Mimuna is probably the most obscure aspect of the holiday altogether. So it's kind of a good way to close out. Is we don't really know how Mimuna emerged altogether. I mentioned that it's a fairly old holiday. I mean, it's probably about as old, to be honest, as Simchat Torah and the other sort of new Jewish holidays that we have, but we don't know why it initially emerged. Some people say that the holiday emerged because of this notion of the end of the holiday and wanting to prolong it, and so that the word Mimouna is a corruption of the Hebrew word emunah.
Oh, beautiful. So,
and so some people,
faith.
and so some people say that the idea, it's the day of Kriyat Yam Suf, right? And the people had faith when they were crossing the sea. And so it's this time of our redemption. It's the time of the crossing of the sea, of spring. And so we want to bookend our holiday, the Isru Chag, the day after the holiday. We want to have extra emunah. And so Mimouna could be coming from emunah. And so there's a teaching, Benisan nigalu, Benisan atidim lehigael. In the month of Nisan, the Jews were redeemed, and in the month of Nisan, we will be redeemed again. And so if we have emunah with Mimouna, maybe we will have the zechut to see peace and redemption. So that's one understanding of Mimouna. There's another understanding of Mimouna, is that it's connected with the name Maimon.
As in Maimonides, Rambam.
Exactly. And so that it could be a celebration of the day after Pesach is the Anyo, or the Nahala, yard site of the father of the Rambam, who was Maimon. As Rambam is Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, so Maimon. And in Morocco, huge deal of celebrating the Tzaddikim. They always have a Hilula, which is a big party, like a Mimouna, on the day that a Tzaddik dies. So some people say that that would be the case, especially since it's the Omer, and you wouldn't be allowed to do a Hilula anyways. So some people say that since it's the day after Pesach, they would skirt it, and so they created this Mimouna to celebrate.
I see. Well, I'm going to stick with the idea. I'm going to stick with the idea of faith, because it's something that the world needs right now.
Right, and then there's one other possibility, is that in Arabic, the word Mimouna means wealth and good fortune, and that people actually, even prior to this celebration of Mimouna, would celebrate the spring with bringing of greens and things like that. It was sort of an indigenous Moroccan custom to celebrate the spring with the plant. And so
that sounds like the most likely explanation.
Exactly. And so basically there's a folk tradition in Morocco that at the beginning of the spring, your prosperity is determined. And so that would make sense. Why are we bringing gold coins and 5 khamsas and putting all of that on our table and bringing water from the ocean? Probably to determine our prosperity. So a lot of academic scholars suggest that this was a custom that was just a general Moroccan folk custom, and Jews practiced it because there was nothing avodah zarah about it. There was nothing objectionable about it. But then, about 500 years ago, they transformed it into something different. And they transformed it so much that now Mimouna is Jewish. And Muslims celebrate it, but they celebrate it as a Jewish holiday. When Muslims celebrate Mimouna, they celebrate it as the Jewish holiday. And so it's completely flipped now. So isn't that beautiful?
I love that. That says so much about the Middle East, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it says so much about the possibility inherent there, is that, we can take something that exists already and bring our own, spiritual, ethical spin on it, and then bring it to celebrate with everyone.
Right. Well, there's so much to say about this, but we are out of time. So please, one more tune.
Yes, let's do one more song. Let's do an iconic song in Moroccan Arabic, and this is a song of peace. This is Ahlan wa Sahlan, Ahlan Bikum. And you're going to hear this at pretty much every Moroccan party you ever go to. So this is a nice one. أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم فرحت قلبي وفرح بكم زيدوا يا أحبابي مرحبا اليوم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم فرحتوا قلبي وفرح بيهم زيدوا يا حبابي مرحبا اليوم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم هادي الكداس حدمي داس تميدي سرمويلة هادي الكداس حميديها سدمي فيها صغر مويلها برمسعودة أحلا وسهلا أحلا بكم فرحتوا قلبي وفرح بكم زيدوا يا حبابي مرحبا اليوم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم فرحتوا قلبي والفرح بكم زيدوا يا حبابي مرحبا اليوم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم هادي القعدة سحدين فيها صدمي سبيدة صحر مطعليا هادي القعدة سحدي فيها صدمي فيها صحر مو عليها برق مسعودة أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم فرحتوا قلبي وفرح بكم زيدوا يا حبابي مرحبا اليوم أهلا وسهلا أهلا بكم.
I love that, Asher. Asher, if someone wanted to attend a Zoom Mimouna this year, is there an organization? Is there a place to go?
There actually is. I'll try and share the link. I know there's one happening from, I believe it's from Jerusalem, from the Sephardic egalitarian community. They're Degel Yehuda. I think they're doing one. And I would not be surprised if some of our local communities here, I would check the Baba Saleh Synagogue on Fairfax. I would definitely check them. And I would check Em Habanim Synagogue on Laurel Canyon. Those are two of our beautiful major Moroccan communities in Los Angeles. I would certainly check there.
Great.
Yes, and you could experience some of the music, I'm sure, and an explanation of the customs. I'm not
some recipes, maybe?
Yes, I'm not certain of that right now, but check back on the VBS site, and we'll get links for some of those things probably coming up.
Beautiful. Asher Shashar Levy, thank you so much.
Cantor Phil Barron, thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing you live and in person one of these days soon.
Yes, inshallah, as we say. And greetings for Moadim L'Simcha. And once the holiday is done, as we say, Terbach.
Terbach. Shalom, everyone.